Hello and welcome to the September 2018 TELedvisors webinar. Our subject today is Meet Your Advisors, who we are, what we do and how we got here. TELedvisors work in a wide range of roles to support technology-enhanced learning and teaching, but until quite recently there have been no qualifications or courses that lead people directly to this job. Sharing our stories and our diverse pathways into becoming an advisor is an important part of understanding and demonstrating the wide array of skills, knowledge and experience that we contribute to our workplaces. Today we have 6 advisors from institutions around Australia sharing their stories. Hyacinth Steele from QUT, Michael Sankey from Griffith University, Lindsay Rattray from Navitas, Marlene Daicopoulos from Murdoch, Jenny James from Griffith University and Tom Worthington from the Australian National University. Our host today is Lindsay Rattray.
And I will share our questions for today, which are what's your current role and some detail there. What do you spend most of your work time doing? What did you do before you were an advisor and how did you get to this position? And then what qualities and skills do you think are important in your job or in our jobs in general? Well, I'm next up, so I'm going to get going here. Let's see. All right, I've gone for quite a kind of personal approach, and I hope that you can kind of see some of my beliefs about the kind of skills and personal qualities that we need in our roles. So I'm Lindsay Rattray. I'm the Manager of Learning Technology Innovation. Oh, I didn't even put that, at Navitas. So essentially what our business unit is it's like the Centre for Learning and Teaching or whatever the equivalent is at a given institution, except it's at Navitas. So we work globally, we work across institutions. And I guess because of the size, and not just the size, also the spread, we have to be really strategic in how we work. Specifically, my role is around, I guess, the kind of stuff that you would predict around deciding about appropriate technology that might help our teachers do what they need to do on the one hand, but I think more importantly, it's about enabling teachers to innovate locally, providing pathways for them to speak to management, whether or not it's their management locally or whether or not it's more centrally and IT, to build a business case, for example, if they're doing a local piece of innovation in their teaching that involves technology, to build a business case as to why that might be useful more broadly, and even to connect, say, 2 sets of teachers or 2 business units, 2 Navitas business units are innovating quite separately. How do we bring them together where that's possible? Yeah, they're the main 2 things. All right, so I'm going to go back, and for me, where I begin, and I think that Michael picked up on this a little bit, is about the search for meaning. Like, well, why do we do this? Why are we in education? And my undergrads were arts and computer science, and I enjoyed them. But I would say that when I've kind of started my first job in business analysis and programming, I didn't really love it. I didn't mind the work, but I didn't really find much meaning in it. So I kind of was inclined to move on quickly. So I moved on to government, where I found a little more meaning, because I think that there was actual kind of meaning in the work that I wanted. But I also found it a little bit slow, maybe a little bit indirect for my personality. So, like many Australians, I decided to have a bit of an overseas stint. Both my brother and sister had moved to the UK before. Being the youngest, I thought, all right, I better do something different. So I did, and I went to this place. I don't know if any of you know this place, but I'm sure you've heard about it on the news. And in 2009, I moved to Syria. And I wanted to travel around the Arab world, and I decided instead of just kind of traveling, I might as well learn the language. So I spent a bit of time learning the language, and these are my photos. I'll share the link in the chat later. I spent a bit of time studying Arabic, and it's a really memory-intensive language. And there's a lot of irregular plurals and irregular verbs, if that makes any sense to you, if you've taught English before. And so I discovered these things called flashcards, and I decided to build my own flashcard system to help me remember all these words, so the teacher stopped teasing me in class for forgetting stuff. And I realized how much potential there was in this, and I went looking for other tools around to do similar things, and I could see how much they were built by engineers who hadn't really delved into the world of teaching or the world of the classroom significantly. So I decided to become an ESL teacher. I did this thing called CELTA, which is basically a short course to become an English teacher. And I began ESL teaching. My first gig was actually on Christmas Island, of all places. And then I taught back in Damascus, where for obvious reasons I had to leave. I came back to Australia. I taught in Bondi, which was great, and then I taught a very different cohort in Monash College, and started to understand the world of colleges and pathways to university. All the while, I guess, thinking about how would technology improve this experience, but also how do I become a better teacher so as to better understand the real world of teaching, the real world of students. I got involved in some startups. I built a product called Classwide. It's kind of like a classroom response system built specifically for English language classrooms. And just generally in the world of EdTech, I read The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, which is a great book that I would recommend, and kind of understanding this way of thinking. But all the while also thinking that this way of thinking is important, but it's about how we connect that way of thinking, that kind of San Francisco way of thinking, with the reality of education. I did a Master of Learning Sciences and Technology. I would certainly recommend this course, or if not, at least having a look at it, if it's kind of something that you're considering doing. And I'll share that link as well after in the chat. That's just a link to the course. So now, as an advisor, I guess for me it's about upwards and outwards. So I did a lot of curriculum design at Monash College, particularly around digital, around Moodle, around updating the courses to, in some ways, just be modern in terms of content, but in other ways to help the teachers there with their sets of teacher beliefs around using mobiles. Mobiles are very useful for English language teaching, but it's not something that I think that people are often aware of until I've had that chance to experience it. Victoria University, particularly in relation to the first year college, which is a totally different way of teaching first year. And now at Navitas, I guess in a little bit more of a technology specifically focused way, so moving back more directly towards education technology. Yeah, and that's more or less me. You can find me on Twitter at Classwide, and it should be, yeah, and that's actually a picture of me, just so you know what I look like, with my partner, and we're off to see good old Bob. And just finally, while I got you, the TELedvisor blog is kicking off soon, or actually we've already really had a soft launch, so do get in touch with myself via Twitter or any of the other TELedvisor people, and we'll be able to kind of help you out there. And you'll hear more about it coming up. Thank you. I think we do have time for, if I get back, for a question. Okay, I've come in under time. I'm happy with that. I saw one question there was, tell us about Navitas from Tom. Navitas is a big and very complex thing, is what I would say. It's got multiple different kinds of businesses. There's university partnerships, which are a big part of what they do. So thinking about, so I worked at Monash College. Monash College own and run Monash College. Many of the other colleges, or some of the other colleges, are run by someone else, and it could be Navitas. So examples are Griffith College, Deakin College, La Trobe College. That's one example of the kind of thing that Navitas do. But Navitas also own some businesses such as SAE, Sound and Audio Engineering, which run computer game courses, movie design courses, yeah, for example. So there's really a lot. And I won't kind of prattle on too long, but I'm happy to talk about the the work on games at VU. Maybe I'll share a link to that actually down in the chat, because I think that was a really interesting project.